cancel culture. So, man, well, from my perspective, well, I guess I get your perspective at first. What's your perspective on cancel culture? Does being canceled actually exist? Is it
Well,
a real thing?
the funny thing is about your question at this moment now is what, May 13th, 2024. Honestly, I think we're at a time right now where, yes, the evidence of cancel culture still exists, right? Really on social media, the X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, in a lot of collegiate circles, right? You see a lot of that stuff. However, I think we're more so in the time of cancel culture where now we're in the time of kind of like that pushback on the part of society towards cancel culture, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people have grown more weary of cancel culture, what it is, what it represents, not just for free speech, but people are starting to kind of understand, like, wait a minute, hold on, this highly reactionary, emotional, salacious, or slanderous behavior on the part of a lot of overly sensitive people, it is tearing at the very fabric of society. People can't just speak freely, not justifying evil speech or people speaking out of turn to be disrespectful, but more so you're letting the highly vocal minority, always have the controlling vote on everything. It's all about the court of popular opinion. Now you're seeing a lot of people having grown weary of that, and they're starting to more and more push back against that. And they're saying, like, okay, listen, calm down. Like, everything can't be dictated by your emotions and by your feelings, which should have been the response all along. But you know, that's just kind of where you are right now. But I think before we get to that, I mean, we got to talk about what cancel culture actually is, though. For a lot of people who are kind of slow to it or don't even know that terminology.
Hmm. I mean, so I don't know how to define cancel culture. I don't have the definition in front of me. If you want to look it up, you can. But
I
cancel
mean,
culture is just where, in my own, I guess, words, I would define it as someone say something against the culture that the culture doesn't agree with, and they
mm,
try to um counsel that person, get that person fired, get that person
mhm,
from having sponsorships, all that kind of stuff. But I personally don't believe cancel culture is. I don't believe being canceled is a real thing, and I think so. I was listening to Gary Owen interview with Shannon Sharp, and
mhm,
and one thing that he said was that somebody like Cat Williams cannot be canceled, but somebody like Kevin Hart can be canceled because of how corporate Kevin Hart is. And that's a big that's that's true, man. Like you can't cancel me because at the end of the day, you can so if I'm on CNN, you could take me off of CNN.
mhm,
And if I can get on YouTube, right? If I'm on YouTube, and even if you take me off of YouTube, you can't stop me from going down the street and speaking in public. So it's like
right,
there's only and then we have platforms like YouTube that give you free speech to say whatever you want to say, and nobody can really stop you,
sure,
and so it's supposed to be, almost like Twitter, like an unbiased, well, not well, yeah, unbiased platform that let everybody have a avenue to speak how
mhm,
they feel. So I
sure.
mean, and people, it just really bothers me. People be afraid to say what they want to say. But
Mhm. Well, okay. So the thing with cancel culture, and I'm glad you're bringing this up. We do need to clean it up, right? For those who, you think about it, bro. You got a lot of people who are kind of being born into cancel culture, already being in full swing. So they don't even know that's a term. But cancel culture, in another way, you can just say, as you mentioned, right? You got basically a corporate blackballing, if you will. Just cutting you off from all access, opportunities, stuff of that nature, giving it over to those who subscribe to the popular opinion or the movement at the time. So sure. Um, but it's not just that, man. Cancel culture, you can say, is you can, okay, if you want to try to be as objective as possible about what cancel culture is. Cancel culture, you can say, is a massive overreaction to a lot of things that have transpired in our country that objectively were wrong, were evil, were things that were oppressive or patriarchal in a lot of ways. Like, certain things did need to be corrected. However, cancel culture, having taken on a whole life and form of its own, it's just this ugly overcorrection to a lot of things in society. To where now, I mean, men can't be men. People can't speak just freely. People can't take a joke anymore. That's kind of where we're seeing right now. So,
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, holding people accountable is not bad. That's long overdue, right? That's why a lot of people like the R.
Yeah.
Kellys and the Diddy's, like last time, sure, a lot of things are way overdue, like
Hmm.
way overdue. However, again, the broad brushstroke approach, when you just say, "Oh, well, let's get of everything and everybody," the first thing we need to do is just fire them. No, whatever happened to just getting a memo? Whatever happened to just a reprimand, sensitivity training? Like, it's this whole, you want to take a flamethrower to kill a mosquito type approach, where it's like you don't want to overcorrect either. And I think that's where a lot of people have gone. But basically, what I'm saying is, as with a lot of movements, a lot of ideologies, you got the extremists who have hijacked it and taken it out of its proper context, as we like to say, and have made it its own thing. Instead of it being about public accountability, which I support,
Hmm.
they've made it about tyranny. Or just, if you don't subscribe to the popular opinion, you're sexist, you're misogynist, you're whatever kind of ist you can think of, homophobic and all this stuff. So
So
anyway,
so let
but
me. So do you think a person can actually be canceled?
being canceled is a frame of mind if you allow it to be. That's a mental prison that the majority wants to try to put you in, and if you abide by it, then I mean, you're canceled, I guess. But like you said earlier, if you understand that, wait a minute, my existence can exist independent of all y'all's approval. But again, to your point, you brought up a great point, which was, if you exist in this corporate realm, then a lot of your connections can be severed. So in that regard, you can be blackballed. But if you're talking about canceled as in, like, I don't know, like you're wiped off the face of the earth. No, you can still exist. Go get a job. I
Well, I
can go get a
mean,
hamburger.
people mean canceling, I guess, more so in the aspect of like, can these people take, these people can take money out of your pocket, and
Well, in that
I
realm, if you have all your eggs in one basket, then sure. But if you're
yeah.
like diversified your portfolio, so to speak, and you're into a little bit of everything, and you understand that, I mean, no, you know, if you allow other people to basically take away all those type of things because you've overly invested in one place and you haven't secured yourself elsewhere, that speaks to more of a bad business decision, as opposed to,
Hmm.
oh, you've been canceled, oh, your life is over. No, it's not. In this
Yeah.
realm in Hollywood, sure, there's a black mark, but I mean, I still got a family, and I still got this, I still
Yeah.
got that. Like, just because y'all say so, that don't wipe me off the face of the earth. I can still go grab a macchiato from Starbucks. They don't, you know. It's
Now, one
basically
thousand
getting kicked
percent.
kicked kicked away from the cool kids table at the lunch table. That's all it is.
Essentially, yeah, yeah. 1000%. I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, so when the baby came out, and I don't
Oh,
know if you
boy, that's
remember,
old.
and he said some homophobic things on stage,
Was it
and
was it homophobic? What did he say?
I
Was
mean,
it
I
homophobic?
really don't remember what he said, but
I'm gonna pull it
it
up.
wasn't it
Continue. Pull
wasn't
it up.
it wasn't respectful. I'm gonna say it like that. It wasn't something. No, it's a difference from saying, "Hey, I don't agree with a homosexual lifestyle." Hey, that's
Hmm.
sin, compared to like just disrespecting people. And I
Hmm.
think I've heard it before, and I think it was a lot of profanity. So I can't say I don't want to say it on this channel, but
Hmm.
yeah, it was,
Right.
yeah, it wasn't respectful. And so in his case, right, my point is that he he still had an avenue to make money. And people said certain, I think certain stuff was canceled for him, like he couldn't go to this, he couldn't go to that, you know.
Hmm.
But again, once you're somebody like him, you have built your fan base already.
Hmm.
So these people are going to follow you regardless.
Hmm.
These people are going to still want to come to your shows. Yeah, you're going to have some people that are going to be like, you can't come here because of what you said, or we don't want you at this event. But at the end of the day, there are going to be a bunch of places that are going to still want to rent you out and say you can perform here, and the people that follow you, they can come here and listen to you. And so you may take a little pay cut, but it's not going
Mm-hmm.
if you handle your money right, you know, you'll still be good financially. You know what I mean? You're not going, like you said, be wiped off the face of the earth, you know, and so that's
Mm-hmm.
why the cancel culture ideology and perspective is just weird to me. It's just not reality. It's like even if I say something on here, right? Me and you, we
Mm-hmm.
on the podcast, and somebody at my job say, "Hey, we don't like
Mm-hmm.
what you said on a podcast. We're gonna fire you." You know, and it's like you could fire me, but I can go down the street and get a job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can't never counsel someone in the sense of they have no more opportunities at all. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
Well, I'm looking this up, right? It was in what? So what was this in 2021? I think I'm looking at like
it been a
a
minute
timeline
ago.
like that. Yeah, it's a long time ago. And you kind of seen the baby kind of start resurfacing again in different, it's small, but you seen it resurfacing. Um, Looking at the transcript of what was said, ultimately, look again as a Christian background, the podcast, we're not justifying anything that he said did. No, we're talking about a secular environment, so let's put that out there. It's all secular, so but with that being said, I mean, if you look at it at the height of the LGBTQ movement, kind of really, just really kind of dominating everything. I mean, literally, as we said, it was like it's people feeling empowered to just strip people like the baby of their career, everything over these things, just this overly sensitive approach to things. um and it's just one of those things, you see it, and when you look, just look at how these people talk about things, like in print. I was so horrified by what was said and all these things, like, really, it's
Yeah, I
these
mean, it's
good.
an agenda. It's an agenda. You
Well, it
know,
is an agenda, but ultimately, look, spiritual agenda, right? Satan running amok,
for
Um,
sure.
and also, put that out there also, we are also not talking about LGBTQ as though that is the only bit of evil or thing that we can discuss. I mean,
Hmm.
if you watch pornography, if you buy prostitutes, if you a corrupt politician, evil is evil regardless of how it looks. So let's put that out there. We don't want anybody saying, "Well, you're picking up." Nope, across the board, call it what it is. Um, but with this, I mean, look, because cancel culture, a lot of it was rooted in the LGBTQ, right? A lot of it's rooted it there in Black Lives Matter and the recent feminist movement. So yeah, in those kind of top three is when the cancel culture really started taking off as its own entity in response to those things. Again, to a certain degree, a lot of public accountability has been missing in society. No one's arguing that. A lot of things have been hidden in darkness and have been exposed. Praise God for a lot of these things being exposed. But it's
Hmm.
the how, it's the who, it's to, to what degree is their exposure and then response, to where literally there's an air of unforgiveness on the part of these people who want to hold your transgressions above your head as though you can never ask for forgiveness or change or make amends or something like that. They just, oh nope, you said this. Oh, bro, you remember when it was the whole thing about, oh, this came out that 20 years ago they ate a Snickers bar, and at the time Snickers was owned by a racist, so therefore you should apologize now. Like that
I
dumb
never
stuff.
heard of that.
That, bro, that you don't understand, bro. At that time, yes, bro, there was a whole subsection of the cancel culture where it was like this retroactive punishment time, where if you did anything 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, they're upset like you did it now. And it's like, was completely ridiculous, stupid. And I'm thankful that we're kind of out of that. But it's like I said earlier, we're in a time now where people are starting to push back against that, and they're slowly
Yeah.
realizing, wait, this is dumb. This is stupid. This is irresponsible and reckless. Like, you don't treat people like that, even if they transgress. You don't sit there and hold it over their heads and like basically hold their careers hostage, hold their livelihoods hostage to make them beg and plead for your forgiveness,
Hmm.
bro. And it's people who don't personally know any of these people, like acting like you owe us an apology. Who are you?
Mm,
35-year-old woman in your mother's closet recording. Like what?
mm,
But that speaks more so to the entitlement that drives a lot of these movements as opposed to reality. No, there's a lot of entitled people who want to be on the right side of history in a lot of these different conversations. They don't want to be the bigot. They don't want to be the ignorant person who's unhip. So they're gonna hop on the movement with all the vigor and zeal, being more offended than the primary people who probably should or should not be offended. But hey, I stood up, so blah blah blah.
I mean, more people have to stand up against it and say, "Hey, it's not cool." But what happened? I mean, one thing that we all have to remember is that things are in our hands. What I mean is, we have control of the way things go within our society. If we stand up and say, if the majority who wants XYZ stands up and say, hey, we standing together for this, we're not going to take this sitting down and say, hey, this is what we want and we demand our rights, then things are going to change. But if we get in line and say, hey, everybody feels like this, so we're going to submit to this and do what y'all want, and we're afraid of y'all because we don't want to be fired, we don't want to lose our job and all
Basically,
this kind of stuff. It's like, well, nothing is
absolutely.
going to change. I know people that work regular jobs and be
Mhm.
afraid of of being canceled. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah,
It's like
people don't
you
know how
got
to
to
have a mature
stand on
conversation.
you got to stand on something. You got to stand on principle. You got to stand on values, and as a Christian, especially as I feel like a lot of Christians is always going to stand on their values. Like, we're going to be like, hey, no matter what, I don't care what y'all say. You know, God's word is God's word, and y'all can feel however
Mhm.
y'all want to feel. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna say what I have to say. So.
Mhm.